What's up, Pirates? Wraith here with Awaken TCG, and today we're going to be looking at the very first look at OP07 events. Super early on. This is week one, basically, and we've had two tournaments so far. We've had a TAC Games Online Regionals, which is an Australian tournament, and then we had a Eggman Win-A-Box, which is a 64-man. So we're going to go ahead and start with Eggman's Win-A-Box event here. So by the looks of it, we had 12 Rob Luchis, 10 RP Laws. We had 10 BY Luffy's, Wiz Khalifi's. We had 7 Anel, 5 Bonnie, 5 Nami, 4 Perona, 3 Gecko only, and then 8 other decks. With our top 8 being 2 RP Law, 2 Gecko. 2 out of 3 Gecko is pretty good. Who was that? A 6th place and a 2nd place. So that's pretty good right there. Only 3 in the whole tournament and 2 of them getting top 8 is pretty outstanding to start off. And then we had one Bonnie, only one ST10 or ST13 Luffy, which is a BY Luffy, one Nami, and one Rob Lucci. So judging by this, like we had a good amount of Morias. I feel like Moria is being outshined by Luchi. I think Luchi has slightly better matchups into everything. But I don't know. I feel like Moria beats Luchi. Something I do have to test a little bit more, but those are my thoughts from like the early testing I've done. I haven't really tested this whole week. I've been grinding. I actually just got back from the gym and I'm super tired. Luckily, it's 4th of July tomorrow. I have no work. I can rest up, actually play a little bit, and so get my O07 testing underway. But yeah, we had a RP Law win this tournament. Moria getting 2nd. Then we had a Luffy in 3rd, another RP Law in 4th, Bonnie in 5th, another Moria at 6th, and then a Nami at 7th. So, and then 8th place was the Rob Lucci at 4 and 2. So, the results are, for the most part, kind of what we expect, right? We have a lot of Law, a lot of Lucci, a lot of Luffy. People are saying hands down that BY Luffy is the best deck, which I don't necessarily believe. I think that's kind of a stretch to say. Now let's go ahead and get into Tax Games Online Regional, which is the Australian Regional. It was a total of 446 players, 9 rounds of Swiss, and our top 16 breakdown is 4 BY Luffy, 4 Rob Lucci, 3 Anel, 2 RP Laws, 2 Bonnies, and 1 Gecko Moria, with Anel actually taking the whole thing. So, who was it? I was talking to one of my buddies, and he was saying that BY Luffy took it, but clearly not. So, and Anel actually took it, which is pretty crazy to think about. Let's go ahead and look at that list. So, 4 Flampe, 4 Shirahoshi. I think the Shirahoshi is super underrated. The only deck that you don't really want to play this is against RP Law, because they're just going to spin it anyway. But like against Lucci, against BY Luffy, this card here is going to stick on the board and give you so much extra stall pressure. We have 4 Beiges, 4 Frankie, 4 Shirahoshi, 4 Gadatsu, 4 Sabo actually. So this is probably one of those units where you want to play down, control board, and just stick more units on board, just to give you, an extra shot at having more board control, right? Which I think is smart. And then we have 3, and now this card here is super good into Luchi. We're running 4 of each of the big bodies, 3 of the 0 cost events, and then 4 Raiko. So a very defensive control list, but with a lot of aggro as well. I feel like this is a very well balanced list of both that can play any play style. I think the Sabo in particular is really good, just because of the fact that it's a Gadatsu when you don't have Gadatsu, and you can be low on life. You can be at 2 life and still Sabo, right? So I think it's really good. I'm gonna have to try out this NL list for sure and go from there. Because I personally don't even have a deck that I'm gonna play yet, right? I've just been testing Bonnie. I've been testing Moria. I have an L made. I'm gonna test Luchi. I have RP Law made. So like I have a lot of playing to do and figuring out what deck I want to play. For '06, it was easy as like, okay, it's either Sokka or Moria. My brother wanted to play Sokka. I'm like, cool, I'll play Moria then, right? I feel like both of those decks are just as good into the meta, right? Sokka having a slight favor, but that's fine. I'm a really good player. I can do it on Moria, and I definitely did. And so this is a set where, it's more of a triangle meta. A lot of decks beat a lot of decks. A lot of decks lose to a lot of decks. And so I'm trying to figure out, what my cup of tea is and where I kind of want to place myself in the meta. So I have a lot of work to do on that. But our second place was a BY Luffy. So, um, I mean, this is as standard gets, right? No Tenzon. We're running 2 Ice Age, 3 of the Egghead Luffy. We're running 4 of the babies of each. We're running 4 Luffy, 4 Sabo, and only 3 Ace, right? 3 Ace, but we're still running 4 babies. Moria for that big combo. We want our double searchers at 4. Hiyori for those early game plays where you can, summon an Ace at 3 life, go down to 2. Now you have a rush Ace on board live and you're at 7k leader. Just small combos. Flampe, Makino to self mill when needed. So yeah, this is very standard. This list is going to play like a machine and it is going to do its thing. Next up, we have Gecko Moria getting 4th place here, which is this is a big tournament, so this is pretty impressive here. Now, this is something I want to note. This is running 3 Isho and 2 Sakazuki, so this is a very brick heavy list. We're running 1 Kuzan, 4 Sabo. I think this is really good into the Luchi, really good into BY. We're still running, 3 Hina, 2 Becca. I'd probably want to test this list out with a little bit of changes. I think the Borsellino is huge now, especially with Luchi being a thing. You pop pop multiple Borsellinos, you Moria into a Borsellino. You have multiple Borsellinos on board. Essentially you're a 6k leader. You're playing super defensive. And then you're just stalling out with Ishos. You have Sakazukis for more pressure. I think this list right here is definitely going somewhere with it. And no Ice Age, right? You're just running straight up Isho, no Ice Age. So I definitely want to test this out. Getting multiple Ishos down is insane. I fear that, maybe Ice Age Moria is still better. Right. But yeah, it's probably not needed, right? If you go second into an L, you drop an Isho, they don't have the Katakuri, you're in a good spot. Regardless, you still have, Hina, you have Perona where you can minus and still, pop these big bodies. So Perona and Hina is -7. You pop a Absalom, you're popping a 9 cost, right? And now you always have Suru just for that backup. But a list I definitely want to try. I'm gonna have to make this and test that for sure. And then Bonnie, we have Bonnie, and then we'll look at an RP Law as well, and then a Rob Luchi. So this is a Bonnie list. So we're running 1 Zoro, 3 Dofi, 2 Kid Only, 4 Hody Jones. Our 5 drops, we have 2 Bonnie, 4 Cavendish, which is standard. So this is kind of like my list. The ratios are a bit different. 4 Udoj. I think this list runs some extra 2Ks. I think I run 3 kids. I think I run three kids and only 2 of this Viola, if I'm not mistaken, or it's like 2 of this Bardo, or there's 3 of this Rosinante. So it's one of those. I take out one of those and I add an extra kid. But basically, this is my list that I've been rocking. Super good, very flexible. This deck with the leader ability, you just have so many options. One thing to keep, note of is when you're playing a blue deck, if you go multiple 5 drops on one turn and they 7 cost, it feels real bad. So always be on the lookout for that. I'd rather play like one big Wasil Hawkins and pressure life with Don, or play a small blocker and swing out search, just small things like that, especially if you're feeling that 7 cost event coming down. Next up we have RP Law. I think RP Law got second. No, RP Law got third. So this is our 3rd place finish here. We're running 7 of the reducers here. Only 2 Otama. I think 2 Otama is really good. You don't need the extra 2Ks. You're very defensive already with the Sanjis. You're running 4 Sanji, 4 Shachi, and then 2 Otama. So that brings you to 10 2Ks. You can even go down one of these Sanjis, I think. But yeah, you want to have your Miss All Sundays for flex. You want to have your 4 Captain Kids always for sure. This ST10 Law is definitely a card that you can tech in or out. I personally would not put this in here. I feel like any matchup that you can play this in, you can already win without it. Essentially, in early game, you never even want to use the effect just because it sets you way too far behind early on. But yeah, again, 4-0 is looking like the #1 thing here. You always want 4-0. It breaks matchups, especially when they can't remove it. So be on the lookout for that card. And then again, just a very standard list here. And then Rob Lucci, one of the decks that I have not put many time into, haven't really tested, haven't really seen lists on what they look like, but I do know that the two Spandine is it's basically like it's meta, right? It's like two is common, right? Everyone's running only two Spandine. Um and then as far as big bodies go, you always want four Moria. I've seen one Stussy, two Sabo. I've seen two. It's a bunch of different ratios. Any's lobby at three. I think you want to just go four. If you ever don't see it, it feels real bad. Tempest Kick, an insane card. You can start playing it turn three ish, turn four, depending on how your mills go. But it's a better grader. It's a better grader option. Like it is what it is. And then obviously this deck has so much combo potential with the Rebecca, Meppo, Spandine, Pop the Luchi, just crazy stuff. And then if you have Moria, it just gets even crazier because you can Moria, Rebecca, Meppo, Spandine, Luchi, just going crazy, establishing four bodies, a Luchi, a Rebecca, a Meppo. It's insane. It's insane. I don't know what else to say. This deck has a lot of deck expression. You can build it many ways. I feel like this deck is still not even figured out fully. I feel like there's still lists that you can definitely do different things with that might even be better than this. But this is our current variation of the deck. And so am I missing a deck? We can see a Perona. We're not looking at a Yamato or a Nami. I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll just look at Perona. So this is standard here. 4 Momo, 4 Otama, 3 Suru. Okay, Belmir. I think Belmir you might want to go higher for the BY matchup. I think Belmir into the BY matchup is actually pretty insane. And then we have 2-legged soldier, 4 Izo, 3 Hiyori. So for the most part, this is standard. I do see more Yamasans being ran instead of yeah. So the Sabo is definitely catching me off guard. I don't remember seeing a Prona list with the Sabo, or maybe I'm just tripping. I might just be tripping. But yeah, usually you want to run more Yamasans. Like, what are you really playing off of the Hiyori? You're playing the Ryuma. You're playing the Yamasan. But I mean, for the most part, you want to play the Hiyori, and then you want to play the Otama, and then you can be my Samurai, the Hiyori, the Otama, play the Hiyori effect, and then just play out your 5-drop. And you have a couple of options here, but I'm pretty sure she only does Land of Wano. Yeah, so this is just Land of Wano, and you only have 4 Ryumas and then 1 here, so that's only 5 targets for that. Granted, you can play like another Otama, but yeah, I don't think you want to do that. So I mean, having 5 targets for the Hiyori feels a little low. Maybe you could probably slide in some more Yamasans. I don't know how effective they actually are in this matchup, but maybe you just play the Hiyori for the draw, use the effect just to draw again. Maybe that's what you do it for. But I've only tested this deck out a very limited amount. I've made a couple videos on it. But yeah, I mean, so far my early thoughts, I think Anel, if you're a lucky player, like, okay, you can be the best player in the world, like perfect example, YONAS, but you could still be lucky. Just because you're lucky and I say, oh, if you're a lucky player, you should play this deck, does not mean I'm discrediting any skill. You could be the best player in NA. Again, YONAS, best player, and still be lucky, right? You could be both. Both things can exist. So if you're a lucky player, you definitely want to play Anel. I feel like Anel is that one deck that just can stall, and with the right triggers, just swing momentum one way and you just win, right? It just Enel just has it. Enel just has it, right? Yeah, they're going for game you base. They're going for game you 0-drop event. You're bricked in hand and you get a Shirahoshi. Now you got extra cards in hand that you actually need. You're down to 1 life, you get a Frankie trigger, you get an extra body and you draw 1. It's just so many things can happen in this deck that can swing the momentum that your opponent is just not capable of coming back from. And then you're dropping 10 ace, and then you're dropping 10 ace, and then you're dropping 10 ace, and it just gets insane. So yeah, I think Anel is a great pick, especially early on when people don't know how to play against it. Luchi is probably the better of the 2 black decks, Moria and Luchi. BY is it's a good solid deck. I don't think it's best deck in format. I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't see any world where it's best deck in format when it loses to Bani, it loses to Boa. Does it lose to Boa? I think it slightly loses to RP Law. because you can bottom everything, right? But yeah, I don't see BY being the best deck in format. I'm sorry. And you could play the deck. Don't get me wrong. You could play the deck, but I don't see it being best deck in format. But it is for sure top 3. I think, you know, I don't think it's best deck, and we're gonna see. We're gonna see that real soon as, you know, smaller tournaments start ramping up. We're gonna be full force in August, just going crazy with the tournaments I'm gonna be at. Basically everyone except Gen Con, so you guys can be on the lookout for me there. But that is gonna be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed me yapping about my, you know, basically just reacting to what early meta we have to go off of, early tournaments we have to go off of. And I really like that the NL one here. So maybe I'm gonna try this list out and pick that deck back up. We'll see. I have a lot of testing to do. I have a lot of playing to do, and just, you know, dug my head down and grind, just like I've been in the gym, ducking my head down and grinding. Anyways, guys, make sure to check out my Patreon if you haven't already. I got a bunch of great stuff coming out. Like this video, comment down below, subscribe to our YouTube if you're new. And honestly, there's a lot of you guys returning viewers that are not subscribed. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We're dropping content. We're dropping bangers. We're dropping stuff that you guys actually want to watch. And so with that being said, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.